when the world has got you down. And
Alzheimer's sucks. It's an equal opportunity disease that chips away at everything we hold dear. And to date, there's no cure. So until there is, we continue to fight with the most powerful tool in our arsenal, love. This is Love Conquers Alls, a real and really positive podcast that takes a deep dive into everything Alzheimer's, the good, the bad, and everything in between. And now, here are your hosts, Susie Singer-Carter and me, Don Priest.
Hello, I'm Susie Singer-Carter.
And I'm Don Priest, and this is Love Conquers Alls. Hello, Susie.
Hello,
How
Donald. I'm great. How are you?
I couldn't be sweller.
Well,
I don't know if that's a word, but we're going with it today. Yeah.
So we just finished.
How's things? What's new?
Things are great. We're also doing another podcast. That's why. So we'll give ourselves a shameless plug called I Love Lucifer, which is nothing to do with the real demon world. Really, it has to do with Hollywood. So it's a comedy horror, but it's really a metaphor for Hollywood, and it's so much fun. We have Adam Levy from The Witcher, who is just freaking amazing, and we launch on July 14th, so we're super excited. So if you guys all want to check out the trailer on Apple Podcast, and if you like, then follow and give us a little rating, and we really appreciate it. We love to make it into the new and noteworthy list.
Yeah, and we're going to be everywhere. Once we launch, we're going to be all over the place, Spotify and iHeartRadio and everywhere. It's going to be fantastic. But that said, we must bring it back to this podcast, which is Love Conquers Alls. And we have a really cool guest today. Like, he's doing amazing things. I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. His name is Kennedy Loftin. He's a driven nonprofit development professional and a sought-after development educator and leader in the industry with guest teaching at Rice University, Glasscock School Center for Philanthropy and Nonprofit Leadership. He is currently the Chief Development Officer of the Montrose Center's Harrington Senior Living Center. Now, this is the first LGBTQ Affirming senior living facility in Texas and one of the largest of its kind in the country. And we are so excited to learn more about the important work that he is doing. So let's say hello to Kennedy Loftin. Hello, Kennedy.
Hello, Kennedy.
Hello.
So nice to have you.
Hi, and happy Pride.
Happy Pride. For sure. What a way to celebrate it. You really like.
I'm very excited to be here.
Well, we're excited.
We're excited to have you.
Yeah, what a great cause. Tell us a little bit about Kennedy.
Well, my story's not that special. Like 25% of all LGBTQ youth, when I came out to my parents in Texas, because I'm a Houstonian, they had a hard time with it. And during the time I was separated from my family, I was housing insecure. But briefly, not like a lot of the youth that we serve that live on the streets for years. But that moment really marked my activism and really shaped what I wanted to do with my life. And so what I'm up to now, fast forward, my parents and I are great with my family. My partner and I go out to all the family events. In fact, I think my family loves my partner a little bit more than me sometimes. He is really fabulous. But what my passion and my purpose is really to help empower the LGBTQ community. And the way I like to do that is through infrastructure projects like our very large senior living center for LGBTQ seniors and others. But this is sort of the thing that gives me purpose and it really allows me to find that joy and to do something really incredible. And I always think about that little kid that was, sleeping, couch surfing and sleeping in his car whenever I need to get recentered in this work.
That's beautiful.
Wow.
It's so serendipitous that we were introduced. Our last guest that we had was Christopher Mcclellan, who really found the challenges of being queer and having a life partner while he was going through the last stages of life and the challenges. And so through that, there's always silver linings, right? And he saw the need for help, for people who are caregivers in this society and within the LGBTQ plus. I found it, and me being in my bubble, realizing, wow, that's an important community that didn't realize the bias and what kind of challenges are there. So this speaks to me so profoundly, what you've done, because our seniors are such a marginalized demographic, and it's tragedy.
Well, Susie, I could not agree with you more. And when we started this project in Houston, we realized we were going up against a lot of like queer ageism, a lot of issues inside the LGBTQ community, because for all intents and purposes, this is the first out generation. There weren't there were LGBTQ seniors before. They just weren't out, especially in cultural spaces like the South. When these seniors, these brave heroes came out, they were coming out to build our first neighborhoods and queer communities. They lost their jobs. They were criminalized for wearing shirts like this if they were a male, because it wasn't gender appropriate clothing. Until I was a senior in college, I was criminalized under Texas sodomy laws, which were overturned in 2003. So I was illegal as an illegal citizen, if you will, by being a gay man for all of that. But these seniors, they saw it all. They lost their partners and friends in the HIV epidemic. They're 2 times more likely to be aging alone, 4 times less likely to have the money they need for end of life, because when they came out, nobody would employ them. They could not get a job because you couldn't hire gay, lesbian, bisexual. We didn't even know what trans people in some ways were in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. These individuals did this incredible thing for us. And now at the end of the life, they're having to move into religious affordable housing complexes, hide the photos of their lovers, not let their friends from the community come, and they die of loneliness earlier, not being affirmed. And these were our leaders that helped everyone else come out. And so, just like about 18 other facilities like Law Harrington in the country so far, LGBTQ communities are realizing, wow, we really have to take care of these seniors that made all this possible for us.
We live in Los Angeles, which is a very different cultural situation. And when I first, we first started, doing some research, and I said, oh, wow, Texas. That's got to be a challenge. And obviously what you just told us, absolutely. And for somebody on their own, who's out there and just to even find a caregiver who would care for them,
right?
That must have been challenged, or still probably is for many of these people.
It's absolutely heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to think about that. And what can they turn to? What do they turn to if they're, if there's nothing like the facility like you have provided for them? I think about my mom, who has had Alzheimer's for 15 years, and any kind of illness can eventually bankrupt you if it's a long illness. And so there's very few places that earmark beds, rooms, places that have good care and quality care for people that are in that generation that need that help, and then let alone adding that extra hurdle and challenge from your community. It's heartbreaking to me.
And I think whether it's the Progressive Coasts or the Bible Belt, we're seeing that LGBTQ seniors are just a lot more vulnerable everywhere. And we don't have resources for them because they're a new class, they're a new group. The needs aren't always understood. Our communities have not spent the time telling the stories, building the organizations. And Susie, I think you bring up a really important point. There are national and regional, like Montrose Center, we're regional. There are things that are growing, but we're behind in building the infrastructure. And the question is whether we're going to get it together in time for all of these seniors that need us now. And LA started this movement. They opened the first LGBTQ Affirming Senior Living Center. And they could tell you they saw the same need. They saw the same discrimination, the same issues. And what we're doing is great, but it's still the beginning.
It's the tip
of
of the iceberg.
Where's it on the legislative level? Because, on the legislative level, the government, the people who make the laws and everything, that's got to be a challenge, because if you don't have them behind them or have some advocacy there, that really makes things difficult. And so where is it at in Texas?
Well, Texas is a unique space where the cities are pockets of LGBTQ acceptance and normalized life for the community. And then the rural areas where a lot of our political representation comes from, it's the opposite, and we are a political issue. But across the country, the advocacy issue for LGBTQ seniors it does not have the place it needs to have yet. It's the same situation we're talking about with infrastructure, but also with politics. Politicians haven't been hearing about the needs of LGBTQ seniors for decades and decades and decades, you know? And so we're kind of new to the table. And what we see is moments of progress and moments, step forward, 2 steps back, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. We take, maybe this is a Texas approach because we've been in such a interesting political environment for so long, we take a very community focus. Right? We are the non-traditional family that steps in for these people that don't have their family.
Right.
That's what we want to be. They have so much to contribute to us, so much oral history and culture. The community space we're able to build in Harrington is this place where our community gets to go and learn about Houston's Stonewall event in 1977, the Anita Bryant protest, our town meeting one in 1978, which built the Montrose Center, and almost every other LGBTQ organization being with these leaders that are now moving into Harrington. They have their bills, their financial, their rent taken care of.
Yeah.
They're back to their purpose, whether that's art or activism. That they're launching and developing HIV and aging coalitions out of the new facility. This is not a place to rest. This is a community center of activism, of purpose, of art. And so that community approach is really about preserving and building that power. And politics is important. We want everyone to vote. We want every single, if you're an LGBTQ person or an ally, vote. But we are going to do what we can on that micro. We'll meet them. They'll go top down. We'll go grounds up. We'll meet in the middle.
And I think there's power, in our tribes, right? So it's like if every senior tribe can hold on to each other too, because it's not like we're not everyone, and of course the queer community has had challenges, that are beyond most other communities that I'm talking about. However, the discrimination for the aged is universal. It just is, and that to me, like you said, there's such a tremendous loss of history and art and storytelling and just and knowledge that we're missing out because we put them away and lock them up, and and if they're just we keep them alive. And I've always had that issue, the difference between quality and quantity.
Well, and there's so much about this project that I think is going to speak to you, Susie, because it's not just an LGBTQ affirming facility. I'll try that again. Susie, there's so much about this project that I think that you are really going to speak to you, because it's not just LGBTQ affirming. It's a partnership with Houston's historically African American community. 2 neighborhoods in Houston gentrifying their seniors the fastest. Montrose, our LGBTQ neighborhood, where I'm sitting in right now, and then the historic 3rd Ward, which is our African American neighborhood. We've gotten together as 2 communities that have faced discrimination, homophobia, transphobia, and we're not separate communities. There are many LGBTQ folks in the historic 3rd Ward. There are many African American, Latinx, like Houston. We have so much diversity. So this project pairs those 2 communities that have always been next to each other for forever and have been fighting together sometimes and sometimes fighting against each other, but into one beautiful place for both of these powerful
That's what I'm talking about.
Communities.
That's what I'm talking
Keep
about.
their
That's so
seniors
powerful.
close.
It just really is. It's I'm getting chills from that, because that's what we need. We need all of our marginalized communities to there's strength in that, because just you take the white straight community and which I'm in a little bubble here in my Los Angeles with my mother at the Jewish home, right? And I see it and I think, my God, if I'm hurting for her in the best place she can be, what are other people experiencing, right?
I've got a scary stat for you. Before the pandemic, so it's pre-COVID, I don't have any post-COVID numbers, the National Coalition for the Homeless said for every 1 affordable senior living apartment, 9 seniors were waiting on average 3 to 5 years.
And so where are they in
And
that
so-
time?
Where are they?
Where?
Yeah, what happens? Who's taking care of
Yeah.
them? Who's taking care of our seniors?
Yeah, nobody in that
Nobody.
case.
So-
I mean, the streets in LA right now, since COVID, have exponentially just
Right.
become their homes. They're little. You can't. I mean, there are tents and tents and
There's
tents
tents everywhere. Yeah.
everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
if that doesn't speak to what we're doing wrong with our infrastructure, I don't know what does, because you know, I've lived my whole life in LA. I've never seen it like this ever. It's extraordinary. It's like apocalyptic.
The only positive way I can respond to that is, for my pandemic, this is what got me through on a mental
Yeah.
health level. As soon as we got our occupancy permit in January, we started moving in our housing insecure homeless seniors.
Wow.
As soon as we could.
Wow.
And so we are completely full at grand opening on June 24th. We were 100%.
Wow.
That's 112 units, 137 seniors. And so that gave me a lot of joy. It's a drop in the bucket, but it gave me a lot of joy because I'm meeting each one of these heroes. I'm meeting the legendary and iconic Dina Jacobs, who's a trans woman who's been doing drag for 57 years. She, as a trans woman, could not work in a corporation in Houston. Some will say even now she can't work in a corporation in Houston. Her jobs were in the bars as a performer, and that didn't come with a 401k
No.
plan. To be able to put her in a beautiful brand new apartment with 2 walk-in drag queen closets, and to have her say that she never felt like she had a safe place to call home since she transitioned and left Hawaii. And now she's 74, and she left Hawaii when she was 16, and now she feels it again. Because she's at the law Harrington, she walks through the Rainbow Tower into her beautiful place, and she's affirmed and she's safe. And that's one of 137. And that there's a lot of joy in that. And we do have to take that time, and we have to spend time in that
Yes,
joy
you're
and spend
right.
time in that story, because we need to build lots more of
do.
these.
Absolutely.
We got to do this work. And we can't do it from a place of, wow, this pandemic has
Yes,
drained
yes,
us.
you're right.
We have to do it from a place of like positivity and passion. And I'll share as many stories with as many people as I need to so that they can catch that
Yep.
fire and go and get what they need to do. We're so excited that Dallas has announced theirs, that New Orleans has visited to check out ours, San Antonio's come over to visit,
Right.
check out ours. Fort Lauderdale's already building it, so we will soon not be the only one in the South. And you know, the movement just continues.
Beautiful.
And
that
this is yeah,
that
I
is
mean,
true. That is our philosophy as like storytellers and just human beings. Dawn and I mean, that when we did our film My Mom and the Girl, which is based on my mother, who, by the way, the story revolves around the girl is not me. The girl is a trans woman that my mother met on the street, and they have a meeting that is so gorgeous that it's just
You'll have
amazing.
to see it.
You have to see
Yeah,
it.
we'll-
Yeah,
we'll-
because
we'll
my
say it.
mother.
Yeah.
That sounds like exactly my kind of jam, Susie.
Baby, you would love my mother. All of 5 foot tall, you know, and this 6 foot gorgeous woman who was my mother talked her down on a street corner in downtown LA, and she was like, "You are gorgeous. Look in the mirror. I love you, and if no one else doesn't, they're just jealous or stupid, you know."
Or both.
or both, and that changed. It changed my mother's life with Alzheimer's and hers for that moment, and maybe who knows. But I know, you know, it's so.
But that's also when you're bringing, you know, you said there was 112 units, or was it 130, whatever.
Yeah, no, 112.
That's
yes.
112 lives. That's 112. It's not units, that's lives. And
We got 2 bedrooms
Oh.
though too, 1,200 to 1,400
Awesome.
square foot. Don't tell New York. We don't do
you're
studios.
building,
Okay?
so you're building a new
1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms only. Our
And
seniors deserve
closets.
it. They
And
deserve those
walk-in-
closets.
that's what I was gonna
Those
say.
walk-in
And those
closets.
walk-in-
Those big kitchens with full appliances, washer and dryer inside, big old kitchen
I go?
island. They've earned it. They've
I
earned
want to
it.
go. I want to go.
We also have cheaper everything here because it's Texas, so you know.
That's true. That's
so
true.
you've brought together you've created a new community of people that may have been so isolated, maybe for their entire lives, and now suddenly you're bringing these. I mean, talk about purpose. You know, creating purpose for people, because that's all anyone wants is purpose in life. And now to just suddenly have these connections and suddenly feel like, wow, I'm a person. I have a community. I have
Affirming, yeah.
friends now. That's, I mean, my God. if nothing else, the beauty of that is amazing.
Right.
And the therapeutic benefits of that it must be incredible. What does it feel like to see that happening?
We were at the grand opening on June 24th, and there was so much love and so much joy. And for Houston's queer community, it was the first big event where we got back together. And over multiple receptions, to do as much COVID restrictions as we can, we had more than 500 people come through. And to walk into the different rooms, whether it's the fitness center or the library or the multi-purpose rooms, the pantries, the kitchens, the social service suites, the medical clinic, and just seeing our seniors sitting there chatting with the community, with community members that haven't seen each other, it is beautiful. It's just beautiful.
It's got to be the most joyous.
Right? It's better than we had hoped.
It's got to be joyous, and and that's what I've got off track a little bit. I just wanted to say is that the reason why I was talking about the film was that it was all about reframing how we think about things, right? So we were reframing it in a positive way and saying, life doesn't end because of this. Life can begin in a different way, and there's gifts in every situation, and you just have to look for them and lean into them, and that's it. And that there's when we marginalize, we lose out. Everyone loses.
Everyone loses. Yeah. Everyone.
There are so many gifts in each particular human being, right? And so we can get boiled down into letters, LGBTQ, or different kind of demographics and all of these different slices. But the magic is conversation, and the magic is that humanity. And so I think of one of our seniors who was born with dwarfism, and she's a lesbian, and she struggled her whole life. She didn't have any family. She was put up for adoption. She was on her own. She worked in a newspaper in Houston, and then on the weekends worked in a lesbian bar, met a partner, but the gayborhood, or the queer neighborhood, started getting expensive in the 90s. So she had to move out, way out into what I call the hinterland, where I'm from, this part of around Houston. And then her partner died, and she has dwarfism. And this is before the Affordable Care Act. That's a pre-existing condition. She did everything right, and so did her partner, but all of her money was gone. And then she's living out in a house she can't keep up. By the time we find her, it doesn't have air conditioning, it doesn't have a working refrigerator, and she is trying to survive, but she has no family, she has no connection to community. She, took care of her end of life with cremation with no ceremony, and then she heard about the law Harrington. Well, then we had our "There's No Place Like Home" campaign, because we used Wizard of Oz and the Wiz as the combining metaphors for the LGBTQ and the African American community. She got on the wait list. We started helping her out. She was one of our first 15 seniors to move in. She moved in with her dog, because we have a pet-friendly facility, and now she's active. She's in organizations. She has this entire lease on life. For her birthday, she told me that the team that built Law Harrington, it's a big team, there's so many of us, that she credits them with saving her life.
Bless you, bless all of you. Really, it's just amazing.
Well, what's interesting is we get so much
Right?
more. Like, I am so much better of a gay man, of a Houstonian, of an ally to my African American community because of this oral history, this culture I get the privilege to absorb. By getting to interact with these seniors, I come out so much more.
I say that all the time. I say, I had no idea. During the pandemic, we weren't allowed to go and visit my mom. I was having to Zoom, and I missed going there and all of the seniors that became my friends, right? And we'd sit there and talk. There was actors who were in their 90s, and they're telling you stories, and it was just I love them so much. I love them, and I missed them, and we lost some, and it was heartbreaking because we couldn't see them. But I feel more enriched. Like you said, I walk away feeling so much more than I ever imagined, and being in this caregiving world and being at least a mouth for it, a spokes, some small way, makes me feel better than anything I've
enriched.
It's changed my life.
And that's what I think you hear from, most caregivers, that they, especially family, caring for family, which is always daunting and frightening and everything. And Susie can attest to this absolutely, that after, no matter how hard it was, you wouldn't trade it, because it changes you as a person. I can't even imagine in your situation, even though these aren't your family, they become your family.
Yeah.
And so the enrichment and the joy and the fulfillment you must get, it must be indescribable. It's everything.
Yeah. It's a
Luckily, I have 97 other staff members, an incredible diverse team that all get to experience that. And we've built this massive amenities space with all of these different rooms and all of these outside gardens so that look, it's happening in every single LGBTQ neighborhood. We make it cool. People move in, the prices go up, and our community institutions can't pay the rent, okay?
Ain't that the truth?
We have to be strategic and build.
Ain't
in
that the
every single
truth?
city. In every single
Yes.
city. And actually, internationally,
Yes.
this is what we do, okay? And so we have to be intentional. So we've intentionally built this community space. And it will naturally, our youth programs, our homeless youth will go over there and sit down with our activist seniors and magic, and then corporate groups and community groups will come in and do gardening projects and food projects. We had a Juneteenth brunch, very first brunch at the Law Harrington. And you can imagine, we're celebrating because if you don't know, Juneteenth is really about Galveston. That's when it got down here, really into the deep South, right? And so to celebrate this Juneteenth brunch and this new beautiful rainbow facility with African American seniors and the LGBTQ plus seniors, it was wild. It was
That's
really
amazing.
wonderful.
I mean, how is this being funded? It's not coming from the government. What's going on? Who's paying for this? How did this how did you start it? How did this become what it is today and where it's going in the future?
Well, one of the reasons why you're talking to a cis white guy with a lot of privilege and not one of the more diverse members of our team is because we raise a lot of money, and it helps right now for a lot of different reasons in the South, from sexism to racism or whatever, for fundraisers to look like me. And that kind of privilege is hopefully something we can overcome. But this project took the big political leaders. It took 43 years of history to make. It took a lot of federal dollars, a lot of city dollars, and a lot of community dollars. So we were the first large city to have an out lesbian mayor, in Mayor Anise Parker. And so she threw her weight behind it at the same time that a really impressive representative from 3rd Ward, Representative Garnett Coleman, was doing the same thing. And those became our two co-chairs. And then our next mayor came in and he supported it. And so we got federal tax credits for almost $14 million of the cost. We got city money. We got the land from 3rd Ward for free. And then we went to the community and raised the rest of the money. And that's how we're able to build the largest in the country by square footage. It's more than 137,000 square feet facility. Big 1-bedrooms that are like 750 to 900. Big 2-bedrooms, 1,150 to about like 1,350. So these are small for Texas. No, these are Texas-sized apartments. But it's also how we got to have the largest, because we had this 3-acre piece of land right in the middle of the city with downtown views and medical center views, on bus lines, on a new rail line they're going to build.
It's like
rail stop on the facility. So it was this.
Yeah.
It's pretty magic. It's a pretty incredible project. It may be one of the nicest ones because of all of this political power and community power coming together to make it so nice. It's better than I anticipated.
Yeah,
my first capital campaign.
So what?
I was just going to say, right? You're
Not my first rodeo.
I was going to say that. So what if people are listening, and we do have facilities in Los Angeles, and the coasts are a little bit more progressive that way, but still there's a need for every little city along the way. What can we do? How can we be, as an audience, helpful in facilitating more of these kinds of facilities?
I think it's a community thing, and that's just kind of where I always go. I don't know. I'm not the guy or the people that know how to make this happen nationally. And I don't have the national solution, but I do know, according to the census, every day 10,000 baby boomers turn 65. Every day. It's called the age wave. But yeah, in every single one of our neighborhoods, we have seniors. And they don't have to be LGBTQ, but please know if they are, they're probably less likely to have family, more likely to be alone, and have more vulnerabilities. But we have to do it on a micro level. We really have to be in our communities, figure out what's going on in our community, figure out what's close. You're in LA, there's at least 2, probably more, being thought of and built and constructed. You can get involved there or get involved close, because the need is so much bigger than our society has ever seen. Baby boomers becoming seniors, the graying of America or the gray wave. I don't really like either one of those because, I don't have hair privilege, so the gray thing doesn't speak to me. But like, we got to do this everywhere. We got to do this everywhere. We got to do it now. So
you've created the blueprint already. It's really more of just getting people behind it, because you're already doing it in other cities.
Right.
You see, if your pie in the sky, hope would be to see it everywhere. But you've done the important work already by saying it's not just an idea, you're doing it. It's there. So
our senior program is 16 years old. Our building is 2 days old now?
Yeah.
Well, from grand opening. We had seniors in there since January. But we've had our Sprite program, and that's the thing. You don't have to start with the building. We didn't. It was 16 years in that we, opened the doors of our building. We started with a social group, a diner, food delivery, mental health services, and we build and we build and we build. And so you take it small, you create a 501c3. In Texas, there aren't many LGBTQ focused organizations serving seniors. It's not prominent. In fact, we were looking around and we think that the social service suite we built, which will have all the therapists and case managers and educators and navigators at Law Harrington, might be the only physical space dedicated to LGBTQ seniors in Texas. We're still looking, but so far it might be the only physical space. So that's where we are in infrastructure. But you can start. I mean, like I said, we did it without a physical space.
Yeah. So that speaks volumes. That is, you did answer the question. You did, because that is exactly what we need. Is just more community and more just awareness, and the awareness brings the community and brings the compassion, brings the empathy, and brings movement. It just does.
Exactly.
So what level of care are you offering? Meaning that there's obviously different levels, there's Alzheimer's, there's physical levels, things like that. Are you at a specific level as far as care, and are you looking to expand that?
Well, the expand question I can't say yet because our board hasn't voted on the next project. They're telling me to finish paying off this one first. And so it's a $26.5 million project. We got about $1.1 million left. So they're not going to vote on the next thing until we get that done. But when it comes, this is an independent living facility, the Law Harrington Senior Living Facility. And that's a big step up for us. And that means all of our seniors are able to live independently without an on-site caregiver. And that's why we have that social services suite and a full medical clinic on site so that we can help. Now, we do have a lot of ADA plus rooms. So these are rooms specifically for people that are blind, in wheelchairs, with more mobility and other issues. And I'm really excited about those because that really brought in a phenomenal group of seniors that I'm really excited to see they're really enjoying the space. So I would say it's independent living plus, because we did some elements, but that's the next challenge. Okay, so when our seniors at Law Harrington age out, or all of the other hundreds of seniors that are visiting the complex, which is now the new LGBTQ Community Center, where are we going to put them when they need hospice? Where are we going to put them when they need assisted living? So that is the next challenge. But for us, that's an education challenge and a partnership challenge until we decide what our next build is.
A little bit selfishly, for our point, is to say that is such an important step, but where do they go? Where they should have the respect and the dignity to have some place to go as they are, entering their final chapter, so they can have dignity and equality as they exit and cross the bridge. And that's what I think you've started that, and it's so powerful and it's so important. So I thank you so much for that. I mean,
well, Susie, I got to tell you, we are very inspired by the Jewish community, the Jewish Federation, the incredible Jewish community centers and senior centers here in Houston. We look at the cultural movement of the Jewish community and all of their different groups getting together and creating this infrastructure. Yes. And for all intents and purposes, that's our blueprint. not only are there a lot of amazing Jewish members in our community that can help us tell us how does the Jewish Federation exactly work? Because we don't have an LGBTQ Federation yet. We will, Susie.
Right.
And I'll let you know when we're getting that built. But there are some great models from our other communities that have gone through some stuff and seen some stuff to teach us how to get this done.
You're so right. You're so right. The Jewish home where my mom is at, and I bless them and praise them so much because it is, fully supported by organizations and private donors.
Yes. Donors,
and it's not just open to Jewish, it's open to everybody. So it's, and when exactly. And it's like
just
I don't
like
know,
all Harrington.
By the grace of God, I didn't have my mom on the list. I was like scrambling that, when I won't go into details, but it was like I had a year to figure out where was I going to put my mom, because I was her caregiver, but not her. I wasn't her financial caregiver. So, which often happens in families. So I had to figure out where to put her. And I, by the grace of God, got her into the Jewish home for the rest of her life. And that is a peace of mind that you can't, it's the best thing I've ever done. I can sleep.
Well, and Susie, your mom has you as an advocate. These seniors, and even a lot of our African-American seniors too, because of the lack of health care, because of the income range that they're in, a lot of them don't have surviving family or don't have family that can support them. And so your mom has you. And I'll tell you, some of the Jewish senior centers are some of the best, or at least around my neck of the woods. And so helping create and extend that type of cultural infrastructure to different groups. Because I bet you your mom never worries about being affirmed as a Jewish American in where she lives. And that's what we want to provide. It would be great we could get to a world where we don't need these divisions and every affordable senior living facility would be affirming to all. We're just not living in that space yet. We're all fighting for that world. We're not there yet. And so this is a step along the way. And again, when you create those affirming places, just like when someone's able to come out and work, they're more productive.
They have a reason.
They're more passionate.
God, yeah. And by the way, aging is a non-discriminatory event, and it happens to all of us. So,
wait, Susie, we're going to age too? What?
Well, not you and me. Not you and not us three. Everyone else.
No, I'm ready. I'm going to be a 72-year-old in a pink suit. I got gay dandy. I got it worked out. I'm ready.
Girl, I'm with you. Okay, I want to live where you're.
I'm already telling young ones. Oh, you don't know what it was like back when I was illegal under the sodomy laws. And I'm ready.
I know you. It's party time. Party time. No, but but I mean the thing is that we're all going to get, and it's the great equalizer, right? Because it's like we all going to go through the same thing, and it's the great, and it really just shows, at the end of the day. We take off our masks and we put them away, and we're just human beings that live on this world, and we feel and think and have the same kinds of illnesses and tragedies and happinesses. We're connected in more ways than we even know, right? And so it's like Valerie Harper said, she had brain cancer, and she's like, we're all headed there. No one gets out of this any other way. Not going there till I'm ready, but
Yeah,
that's true. Well, I think that your unity message is such, that's the power behind Pride, right? In a world of more normalized LGBTQ acceptance, and even before that, we've always used Pride to advocate for social change. Right? Whether it was the HIV epidemic, whether it was marriage equality, whether it was coming out and our rights. Last year, Black Lives Matter, the intersections of race, gender, and sexuality. I think that's one of the really cool things about being queer. We're in every culture. We're in every race.
True.
We're in every religion.
True, yeah.
There are LGBTQ folks everywhere. And when you go to our parade,
it's the rainbow.
Parade,
the rainbow.
You see everything.
Yeah.
And it's a model.
It is the rainbow.
Yeah.
It's the rainbow. And we've got to do more of that, right? And like sometimes in Houston, you'll go to the Juneteenth parade, and it'll be predominantly African Americans, or you go to another parade, it'll be predominantly another group, and you go to the Pride parade, and it's everybody. And that may not be the same in every single space. It's the way it is here in Houston. But I think that is one element that the LGBTQ liberation movement can bring to the table.
That's so true.
Like, we know what it's like to be discriminated inside of our own cultures, and we're everywhere. We're already connected. We don't have to build the bridges because we're already inside of all of these
That's a brilliant observation. I know
neighborhoods.
it's simple observation, but that's really it's a profound, it's just a concept of it. It's
and it shows that we,
profound,
we do.
It makes sense. You
Yeah,
are.
I mean, we have a lot more in common than we have differences as human beings. We really do. Yeah.
Right.
And it's that philosophy, love is love,
Yep.
unity, equality
Yep.
for all. It builds places like Harrington. People will look and be like, how did you get the African American community and the LGBTQ community to build a senior center together? It's that idea. Like, when you boil down what we are, what pride is, you get down to the root that we can't have full LGBTQ liberation until Black Lives Matter and trans lives matter and go down the list. Immigrants' lives matter, all of those elements. And so it is a profound observation, I think, for queer communities, and a way that other communities can use queer communities as a resource.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is a daunting goal, but it is doable. I mean, there's still tremendous amount of anti-Semitism that is, still permeates.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And now, now, that's so.
My partner is Asian.
Wow.
In Texas.
Oh boy.
Wow.
And he immigrated from Vietnam when he was 12, and he runs Vietnamese restaurants in Texas, and he actually runs them in the hinterland. He's not inside the city proper where we live. He's got all kinds of experience.
Yeah. And
the
Jewish community and the African American community used to be very bonded, and it's a shame because in recent years they have grown more apart, and I'm hoping through things like this that it's these little grassroots things that cause a larger movement. And we do have to realize that we're all, marginalized people are marginalized people, no matter who you are. And you need to, if everyone comes together like what you're doing right now, well, you see the results, and we just have to hope more. Yeah.
It's a ripple. It's the ripple effect.
You get to get the biggest LGBTQ affirming affordable senior housing complex in
Houston.
In
Houston, with super big closets. Oh my God!
With really big closets.
I'm jelly, so jelly. Wow, Kennedy, this was great. You are.
Well, Susie, whenever you come and visit, we'll give you a tour.
I cannot wait. That's going to be a party in a block right there, because that's going to be the fun. You've got to have the most fun people there ever. I mean, creative.
The entertainment
some of our
must be
seniors
amazing.
can way out party me.
I have no doubt about it.
The legendary drag queens you have on the facility. They just go get changed. They do outfit change in their own apartment. Come back down and perform. We had several perform at our grand opening,
That's
and
amazing.
it was
Oh my
awesome.
God.
Awesome.
You are. This is spectacular. This was so much fun. I applaud you. Thank you so much. It's an honor to meet you. We love what you're doing so much. You're a wonderful human being.
Is there anything else that you'd love to say or talk about that we haven't covered, or?
I just want to say that Houston gets a bad rap, and most of the time we're okay with it because it keeps everything cheap down here the way we like it. But it's a really beautiful LGBTQ community. We're not asking for tourists, but when you are down here, know that you are really going to be welcomed. And it is one of the most diverse cities, and it's been a thriving queer community since the 50s, one of the big ones. And not every city has that. Like, not every city has that history, but you can start it now. Like somebody in the 40s and the 50s started building Houston's queer community. And then it really got going in the 70s. And now we're all doing our part now. We just step into that history. So you may think you're in the most horrible place, or that your neighborhood has nothing, or there's nothing there for you. But that's just not the case. Maybe it's for you to start it. And that's what you're called to do. But you probably, wherever you're listening from, don't think that Houston's got this going on. But it does.
Nice.
That's amazing. And we just have to thank you for what you're doing for, I mean, so many people, and like we always talk, that ripple effect.
Yeah.
It's already started. It's rippling.
And it goes with our mantra, which is, Dawn, what do we always say?
Yeah. We always say that love is powerful, love is contagious, and love conquers all. It really does.
really
And
does.
Kennedy Loftin, we thank you so much,
Yeah.
and we hope to see you again, and
Yeah.
keep on doing it.
Yeah, keep up with. Oh,
I'll be
we'll
back
have
if y'all
you.
have ya.
We'll have y'all anytime. All right, you guys subscribe, like, follow them, follow
All you
Kennedy, and
gotta do
be
is sing a
inspired.
song.
Have a good one.